So one of the things I want to talk about today is the importance of getting enough rest when you have a tiny baby. So all the midwives say, rest when the baby rests, rest when the baby rests, sleep when the baby sleeps, and not many people take that advice, including myself. I swore that I would. Of course I would. Obviously I would, if I'd been up in the night feeding a baby. But something kicks in when you have a baby, a kind of adrenaline, and also of guilt if you take that rest. It's really strange, but you feel like you shouldn't take the rest. So anyway, on to how to get the rest. The key thing is to get the rest, because they say that if you are sleep deprived chronically, over a long period of time, if you're chronically sleep deprived, you don't even realise how tired you are. So if you miss 2 or 3 nights sleep, you know that you're tired. But if you have several nights of broken sleep, you don't realise you are. And that is my 2-year-old. He's woken up. Back in a moment. Okay, so that's my son in the background. He's watching something. I'm going to finish this as best I can in this strange lighting. So there are a few ways that you can get the required rest when you have a newborn or a very young baby. In the first few weeks, I would really recommend getting people to come and help out. It can be hard to admit that you need the help, but looking back, I would say that it's not. In Korea, they don't let the woman do anything for 4 weeks. She doesn't have to do any cooking, cleaning, ironing, anything for 4 weeks. They acknowledge what having a baby is like and what it's like to also recover post-birth. Postpartum, that's the word. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would really recommend is some advice that I read in a book called Sweet Sleep. So they recommend that you do the jobs that you have to do when your baby is awake, but you have your baby in a sling. So one of the slings that I used was called Je porte mon bébé. It was a fabric sling, you kind of wrap around thing. They're about £60. I got mine second hand for less than that. And it was so useful. With Grace, I didn't get it till she was about 3.5 months old or something like that. And I never looked back. And then when I had my second baby, Isaac, he was in it from really, really early on because I had a toddler to run around after. See, the thing is, most of the things that you need to do around the house you can do when your baby is awake in the sling. 1, putting things in the washing machine. 2, any kind of sweeping or hoovering. In fact, hoovering will sometimes get a baby to sleep if you want them to. 3, any kind of tidying up. 4, stacking the dishwasher, emptying the dishwasher. When they're awake, you don't need to worry about the noise waking them up. So it's a perfect time to do those kind of jobs when they're in the sling. And they're still so lightweight that, it won't feel that hard to bend down and stand up again with them in your sling. The job that is the most difficult to do when you have a newborn, and I defy anybody who says it's otherwise, is the washing up. You cannot hold a newborn while you're washing up, and you can't really hold a newborn easily in a sling while you're washing up. I would say do as many jobs as you can when your baby is awake in your sling. And when they've first woken up and they've had a feed, that tends to be when they're kind of happiest and you can get away with more. That might be a time to put them down while you're doing a job that's in the same room, because they might be happy to do. The other thing that I learned to be most true from that book, The Sweet Sleep, is if you lie next to your baby when they have their longest rest of the day, they're more likely to stay asleep for the entire time. 1 second. Or if they do rouse, you can get them back to sleep quite quickly with a feed. So there's a section in there on how to co-sleep safely. It transformed things for me, and I actually then decided to co-sleep, but that's another story. Definitely for that midday nap, if you have one baby or if you have the chance to rest while your baby's resting because you've got a child in childcare, I would urge you to take that time. You deserve it. You are being woken up a lot in the nights. It is a non-stop job. And being tired doesn't help anyone. So if I could do one thing differently when I look back, I would have taken that rest from day one. It took me a lot of months to realise when Grace was born that it was okay to take that time. I used to try and sneak down and start the jobs as soon as she was asleep pretty much, and it very, very rarely worked out. I would just then go back, get her back to sleep. It would take a long time to get her back to sleep, then I'd be back down again trying to get on with the job. So I was neither feeling the satisfaction of getting the jobs done or getting the rest, and it takes quite a long time to get a newborn baby back to sleep. So it was a time waster. So yeah, they have tips in there for how to co-sleep safely with your baby, where to put them, how to make sure they're not near the pillow, what kind of mattress to use, what kind of bedding to use, and all of that. If you are a restless type of person, a bit like I am, when you have nervous energy, it's a tall order to try to learn to sleep in the day. Sometimes we just can't do it. So I'd recommend 2 things. First, find a series that you love, that you can rewatch, that feels really cozy, really easy to watch, really feel good because you've got all those hormones going on, and watch that, especially if it's an hour long or 45 minutes long. And do not let yourself get up before that episode is finished. And don't feel guilty about watching 2 back to back, or even 3 on days when you've had no sleep. Second thing I would recommend is reading. I find that quiet time when you can read, that quietness slows time down. So 45 minutes reading feels much more like an hour and a half. So you feel your body slow down, everything's quiet. I said that word again, haven't I? Everything's quiet, and you can feel rejuvenated by it. The other thing is, if you're doing that, yeah, your mind might not be completely resting because you're reading, but your body is resting. I would also recommend a Kindle, because if your baby is a kind of baby, especially as they get a bit older, that can't really get to sleep when you're feeding the baby in a light room, then that time when you're getting them to sleep can be quite wasted unless you can use it nicely. Being on your phone is not restful, I don't find. So I would turn my phone on flight mode quite a lot of the time, and then I would get my Kindle out, and that was much more restful. And I also found a barometer for how tired I was, because if I couldn't keep my eyes open to read what was on my Kindle, I knew I was so tired that I needed to sleep. And I would sometimes drift off without intentionally trying, and that's less pressured than trying to go to bed and trying to get to sleep. Okay, hope this helps. Excuse the interruptions, and see you soon. Bye for now.